Уважаемый господин премьер-министр, уважаемые дамы и
Prime Minister, ladies and gentlemen, I would first of all like once again, with my great pleasure, to welcome the Honorable Prime Minister of India, Mr. Narendra Modi, who is now paying an official visit to the Russian Federation. I'd like to thank you for accepting our invitation. Annual Russian-Indian summits have become a very good tradition. We've had them for many years. Our talks are always characterized by warmth and friendly atmosphere, and inevitably they are substantive and productive. This has been the case this time. Let me note one particular thing about this visit by Prime Minister Modi. This year, India is a partner nation for the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum, and tomorrow the Honorable Prime Minister will deliver a speech at the plenary as the main guest of honor. I will emphasize that the year 2016 for our bilaterals is a special one. We're marking 70 years since the establishment of the diplomatic ties. In all the past decades, bilateral cooperation developed incrementally on a friendly and mutually beneficial basis, and now our partnership has been developed into a strategic and special and a privileged one. Today, with the Honorable Prime Minister, we've looked in detail into the implementation of the decision of the past summit in Goa. We have mapped out joint plans and prospects, and the agreements reached have been reflected in the St. Petersburg Declaration we've just announced, and it spells out steps that will be propitious to further broadening and deepening our bilateral interaction in political, economic and cultural spheres. And the key priority has been selected to be the growth in mutual trade and enhancing the structure thereof with the help of expanding industrial cooperation. In the past several years, we've seen a decline in mutual trade, unfortunately, but with satisfaction now we note that this year we have reversed the trend and the trade turnover has started growing and recovering. In the first quarter of this year, we've seen the growth by 29%. The positive pace is shown by mutual capital investment. The cumulative Russian investment in Indian economy is on top of $4 billion, and the Indian investments are over $8 billion. All that is a testimony of the fact that Russian-Indian economic cooperation is once again returning to the trajectory of growth, and it's now common interests to consolidate this positive trend. In this context, an efficient work of the Intergovernmental Commission is of special relevance, and we believe that assisting to business communities of our countries is a very important area of its work, so that they can promote mutually beneficial major projects. And today the parties have coordinated 19 such projects in order to establish joint ventures in transport, infrastructure, new technology, including pharmaceuticals, in aircraft construction and car manufacturing, rough and cut diamonds and agriculture. Right now we have had a meeting with our business communities and we see their huge interest in a full-fledged partnership. In the course of our talks with the Prime Minister, we have made emphasis on the cooperation of peaceful nuke. We have the first unit of the Kudankulam nuclear power plant commissioned, and it uses the most reliable and state-of-the-art Russian design technology. And the second unit of the power plant has produced first electricity, and in October 2016, Prime Minister Modi and myself launched and inaugurated the construction of the third and fourth units of the power plant. And once again, we reaffirmed our joint plans to erect no less than 12 NPP units of Russian design in India, which will be a huge contribution to India's nuclear power sector. We decided together with Indian partners to strengthen cooperation in military and technical sphere, building on the bilateral program till 2020. I will note that our interaction is not confined by the direct supplies of newest samples of Russian arms to our Indian partners. With Russian help and participation, India has started assembly of military items, and these are high-tech items. It was agreed by Mr. Prime Minister and myself to keep designing and producing state-of-the-art weapons together. Another important pillar of Russian-Indian partnership is cultural ties. The cultural exchanges program that we've inked for 2017 to 2019 is aimed at their further broadening. Let me emphasize that the nations of our countries have always had the liking and fancy towards each other and have always showed interest towards culture, history and spiritual values of each other. Now in Russia we're hosting the Indian Culture Festival, and the Russian public is hugely interested in it. Last year India hosted Russian Culture Festival, receiving positive feedback. Definitely we centered on international affairs as well. We agreed to cooperate in UN and BRICS format, including the trilateral format of the Russia, India and China, G20 and others. And in concert, we should do our best to provide for security and stability in Asia, in the Indian Pacific Oceans areas. In this regard, Russia welcomes the official accession of India towards the Shanghai Cooperation Organization as a full-fledged member that will be institutionalized during the SCO summit in Astana on the upcoming 8th and 9th of June, in a week's time. Of course, we talked other things today, and we will have a chance, Prime Minister and I will have a chance tonight to talk one-on-one. We agreed to meet at night for dinner to talk Syria, Afghanistan, other hot points, and it is of importance for us to have the confidential exchanges one-on-one, and I value this format extremely. In closing, I'd like to thank the Honorable Prime Minister and all other Indian friends for constructive and fruitful dialogue. I'm sure that the agreements we've reached will facilitate all-round development of the Russian-Indian strategic partnership, will serve to strengthen friendship between our nations. Thank you.
President Putin, distinguished members of the Russian and Indian delegations, members of the media, Rashtrapati
Your Excellency, President Vladimir Putin, distinguished members of the Russian and Indian delegations, members of the media, today I'm extremely happy to be here in St. Petersburg, which is also the hometown of President Putin. And in fact, there is a very historic event which is related to this particular town. I mean, this is part of my political career. In 2001, October, as the chief minister for the first time, and within 1 month of becoming the chief minister, the then Prime Minister, Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee, I came as part of a delegation and visited St. Petersburg, and I remember that, like we were standing behind the chair, President Putin and myself. At that time, President Putin and Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee were standing behind their chair, and here I was, sitting on a chair in front of them, and I was signing one of the MOUs. 16 years after that incident, once again at St. Petersburg, I've had the opportunity to be here on the stage with President Putin as the Prime Minister of India. The way our delegation has been received with such warm enthusiasm, I am very grateful to you. Thank you very much. And I think this is a symbol of the warmth and amicable relations that we have between our two countries. As you know, that this year, India and Russia are celebrating the 70th anniversary of diplomatic relations. Our relations talk the same language, from culture to defense. For example, in Russian, they say, we speak one language.
We speak in one language.
in the 70 years, despite various regional and international turmoil, if there is one stable truth, and that is the strong relationship between India and Russia. The fundamental basis of our relations is affection, love, respect for each other, and strong confidence and trust towards each other. This strong basis is on which our cooperation and support has developed in multiple ways. Friends, as you know, that myself and President Putin had a very detailed talk on the overall status of the relationship across various fields. In fact, it is important that we speed up our current status and to make sure that our future is more bright. We have taken some very important decisions with regard to making an action plan. With this in mind, today we have adopted the St. Petersburg Declaration. This is a declaration which is going to be the pathway for the economic and political strength and growth of both the countries, but will also prove to be a benchmark of stability in this international turmoil that we see. Today, we all know that the world is interdependent as well as interconnected. There is I think the growing economic cooperative relationships are an important driver for growth. We have to look at faster growth of our economic relationship, and this is a shared target that I have with President Putin. In the SPIEF, you have invited India as the guest country and have also invited me to address the plenary tomorrow. I think this is a symbol of the closeness of our economic relationship, and in fact will be the reason for making them even closer. Due to all of these efforts, I think we can expect some very fast growth in bilateral investments. And by 2025, we will be very close to achieving the $30 billion investment target that we have set. One of the most important bases of deepening economic ties is energy cooperation. Nuclear, hydrocarbon, renewable energy are very important parts of this energy cooperation. I'm happy that today the Kudakanam 5 and 6 unit finalization has been done, and as a result of that, we have further deepened our bilateral energy cooperation. Even in the field of nuclear energy, India and Russia will be not only able to have mutual benefit, but because of this, we are also continuing cooperation with other countries. Even our trade and commercial relations, the private sector is a big contributor. In this relation also, I invite the private sectors of both countries to take a proactive action and play a very proactive role. We understand that both the countries need physical and institutional connectivity, and this is important for economic cooperation. In this regard, the International North-South Transport Corridor is one way whereby our relationship, our support, and our participation and partnership will give a new way. The Eurasian Economic Union we are doing an FTA negotiation for Eurasian Economic Union, which is going to give more support to our economic cooperation. Scientific and industrial and technical cooperation is a very important part of our overall economic cooperation. Through this, whatever benefits we are able to reap will give not only our economies and societies strength, but also prosperity. Bridge to Innovation is a common program that we are running, which will be useful for scientific startups and also for the growth of young entrepreneurs. This will give opportunities of an innovation economy to our future youth generations. I hope that because of this, the job seekers will become job creators in the future. At the end of this month, both the countries are going to hold a bilateral science and technology commission for the first time. I'm confident that these will bring our scientific and technical cooperation to new heights.
Dear friends, the defense cooperation between India and Russia is strong. Whatever may be the form that global relations may take, India and Russia's security partnership has always taken care of each other's strategic interests. The recently held first military industry conference that was organized in India will play a significant role in ensuring the security and security equipment entire value chain. The production of Kamov 226 helicopters joint venture has also started its production. The joint manufacturing of frigates is also being implemented. The manufacturing cooperation in the area of defense is reaching new heights. The military-to-military cooperation between the two countries both countries are now trying to undertake a tri-services Indra to 2017 this year. Dear friends, one important part of our friendly relations has always been people-to-people contact. The Russian culture has always been popular in India, and yoga, Ayurveda, and other Indian cultural events have always been very popular in Russia, and this has been a matter of satisfaction for both our countries. I am convinced that this year too, as it has been done in the past, the International Day of Yoga, which is celebrated on 21st of June, will be celebrated with grandeur in Russia. Dear friends, I and President Putin had the opportunity to discuss regional and international matters as well. We both agree that whether it is the area of terrorism, whether it is a matter of protecting each other's strategic interests, or whether it is the matter of dealing with the new concerns, India and Russia will stand shoulder to shoulder. Indeed, India commends Russia's unconditional support for India against cross-border terrorism. India and Russia have common views in the areas of Afghanistan, West Asia, and Asia Pacific. Whether it is in BRICS or at the G20 or in G20, India and Russia both have similar views. In the Shanghai Cooperation Organization as well, both our countries will work for giving a new shape to regional cooperation. Dear friends, President Putin has always been supported India, and I commend his leadership in this regard. Our relationship is like a fruit-bearing tree, which has, for the past 70 years, which has been nurtured by many great leaders. One of such leaders was Ambassador Alexander Kadakin. We sadly lost this great friend of India this year. In memory of this illustrious son of Russia, India has decided to name a road in his memory in New Delhi. Excellency Putin, through the long test of time, when faced with any challenge, and for the benefit of the entire world, India and Russia have stood together side by side in their strategic partnership, and that has always been a pillar of strength. Our unfaltering cooperation in the years to come will ensure balance and stability to the entire world. Our discussion today has been very successful, and the decisions taken during our discussion today will light the way forward for our cooperation. Once again, I would like to express my gratitude to you and to the people of St. Petersburg. Thank you very much.